The 6 biggest rivalries in MMA history. Looking back at some of the greatest fights in MMA history, one will notice that the majority of them involve some legitimate dislike between the fighters. Even if it is just pre-fight hype, the belief that two fighters hate each other is a successful formula for gaining fan interest. There are often two kinds of rivalries that emerge in the ultra-competitive sport of MMA. Those that come about from mutual hatred and the competitive kind. The rivalries that evolve as a result of two guys not liking each other is pretty self-explanatory. The competitive rivalry is one that forms due to two guys being on a virtual collision course as a result of their performances inside the cage, or ring. These bouts don't need bad blood for us to tune in, as the competitive nature of two elite athletes tends to be more than enough to gain our interests. No matter what drew you into these rivalries, there's no denying that when the fighters finally got to settle their differences, we all tuned in. Number 1. Frankie Edgar and Gray Maynard. Frankie Edgar defeated the UFC legend on 2 occasions, which set up a rematch against the only man to beat him, Gray Maynard. Their second fight was widely considered in the running for Fight of the Year and saw Edgar survive a barrage of punishment that made him seem superhuman. A draw set the stage for their third and climatic bout. The pre-fight talk was relatively clean between both men, but you could see each man was growing tired of the other by their third fight. Number 2. Frank Mir and Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. When Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira and Frank Mir first met, it was for the interim UFC heavyweight championship. But there was also much more on the line besides the UFC belt. Nogueira and Mir were both jiu-jitsu specialists and former champions. The majority of fans considered Nogueira to be among the heavyweight elite, while Mir never seemed to recover from his horrific accident. Even Mir said he didn't think he would win in his post-fight interview with Joe Rogan. Not only did Mir win, but he also became the first man to stop Big Nog. 3 years later, Mir added another first to his resume as he became the only man to defeat the BJJ black belt via submission. Both wins helped vault Mir into title contention after going through a rather lackluster part of his career. This rivalry was one of the biggest and best of the heavyweight division in recent years due to the nature of how the fights played out and the ramifications that resulted from them. Number 3. Georges St. Pierre and Matt Hughes. The trilogy of bouts between Matt Hughes and Georges St. Pierre may not have been as action-packed as some of the other rivalries on this list, but there's no denying the importance of it. When St. Pierre was defeated by Hughes in their first encounter, GSP admitted to being in awe of fighting his idol. The second and third encounters showcased what St. Pierre was capable of by dismantling the former champion. The competitive rivalry between the two didn't create interest due to the close nature of their fights, but rather due to the symbolism involved. By defeating Hughes, St. Pierre effectively received the torch from the old guard and would go on to be the future of the welterweight division. Number 4. Frank Mir and Brock Lesnar. Their first encounter proved Brock Lesnar wasn't ready for the upper echelon of UFC heavyweights, but did show he had a lot of potential. The second meeting between Lesnar and Frank Mir was one of the most hyped fights in years. Other than being the main event at UFC 100, the bout was highly anticipated due to the absolute hatred of each other by both men. The actual bout failed to live up to expectations as Lesnar simply dominated Mir from start to finish. By unifying the titles, Lesnar ushered in the era of super heavyweights and caused a lot of fighters, Mir included, to begin intensifying their weightlifting regimen. Although their rivalry was relatively short and undecided as both have a win against the other, it created an excitement about the heavyweight division that hadn't been seen in years. Number 5. Randy Couture and retirement. Randy Couture will go down as one of the legends of MMA, but he may also be the Brett Favre of MMA as well. After losing his rubber match with Chuck Liddell, Couture announced his intentions to retire. Couture's retirement wouldn't last a year as he re-signed with the UFC and defeated heavyweight champion Tim Sylvia in his first fight back. Number 6. Nick Diaz and KJ Noons. As Nick Diaz became the official poster boy of the Strikeforce promotion, the company chose to focus on Diaz's rivalry with KJ Noons. The two first met in 2007 under the Elite XC banner, with Noons scoring the victory via doctor stoppage. The other being Diaz didn't fight against Miller and won a rather one-sided bout against Shamrock. Let us know in the comments below. If you appreciate this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more video content like this. Thanks for watching, and see you soon in the next video.